Hello, everybody. It's great to be here. Thank you very much, Ali, for inviting us. I find myself in the position that I have to edit a bit whilst I talk, and I hope that works well and that repetitions with Carolina's lecture will not happen. I'm a professor of urban design at the KTH. Every spring I have urban design projects. I will just show you very little of that, but I will start by asking the question, if not Stockholm is a fantastic lesson to be learned when it comes to sustainable urban design, and with all these experiments Carolina has mentioned, and with this great planning tradition, if it couldn't be a sort of model to learn from. That is my main message today. So here you see the historic center, you see the strong topographical features, the grand rift in the backside with the southern island being about 25 meters above. And I think, having talked so much about buildings and building technology, I think it's important to state that the totality of the city must be introduced in this discussion, and the potential of urban design must come into it. And that is my second message. Here you can see, again, a satellite view of these great water landscapes which surround the city. On the eastern side, the Baltic; on the western side, this great lake system; and in the middle, as a lock, the capital of Sweden, Stockholm. And to understand the city, you could take the idea that it's a sort of overlapping system on top of each other with different functions, such as the built form, streets and squares, communications, supply, energy and mobility. And all these systems can individually be optimized, but also working together. And I think that is very interesting and potentially great. Here you can see the built systems. It's a fantastic map of 1 to 10,000. You see the classic European city plan cast onto this scattered landscape. You see the public buildings reinforced by red, and this in between, the spaces between buildings, which really make up the potential of the city. And what is a great city? A great city is a city which belongs to everyone. And knowing this place, I can say there are very few points where I cannot walk. And that means a lot. You have a water side with a lot of water activities. Still, there are very few places where I cannot walk. It's public all over. And I think that's fantastic quality. And yeah. But there are big challenges. And if you look at this image, which shows the stone city in the center and the surrounding new areas which were built around it, practically all buildings you see do not have the standards we are talking about in this lecture. So the large task for all of us will be, how do we deal with this? And the Millennium program Carolina has already mentioned, and my colleague Erik Stenberg is a researcher and expert on this, is one of the great problems for not only Stockholm but many Swedish cities in how to handle this enormous mass of buildings which are due to being overhauled at the moment, and which has weak economic classes living in the buildings, and a large task to handle if you consider the numbers. I think the potential of urban design in achieving social equality is an aspect which is very little handled, and I would like to just mention a bit about it. We have these buildings from the 1930s, which are a south-facing waterside development. And here there was such a conscious, from end of the 20s, early 30s, there was such a conscious idea about creating equal plan qualities. So what is that? Equal plan qualities means that not the first row have all the qualities, but that the qualities of the place are distributed to a larger part of the city block. Clearly, as you can see, it's here. I also think that the forms of city blocks play a fantastic role. If we talk about as a principle, the perimeter block, what in many cities it's a rectangular or a square shape with a inside and an outside. But look at these fantastic forms where the top left one, shaped by extreme topography, becomes a whole world in itself, but still has the principle of the perimeter block, and the others both sometimes creating space within public space even, and the bottom right-hand side even containing public buildings inside. And that is something which I'm very concerned of, and which my work as a teacher at the KTH is involved with. Every spring I make 2 projects developing new urban types. And in order to develop them, we use very few parameters. It may be sun, it may be prevailing winds, it may be climate conditions, but we refrain from some other important parameters in order to develop these types. This is for Cairo, an extension of Cairo, and trying to develop systems of green areas which the city so badly lacks. And we often combine that with the trips to and workshops with the local universities, which we also did in this spring with the Cairo University. So I think here is a central potential to develop new building types which are capable of performing as compact city units, but with social programs and great and qualified mobility. I won't talk about Hammarby Sjöstad. It has been mentioned already. So I just proceed. The Royal Seaboard, which Carolina showed, has an interesting background, because both the city, the business community, and academia are working on it, and that will be very interesting. Another thing which I think is interesting, that the industrial area, the port, Stockholm has lost its function as a port, and this is an idea to recreate the new housing areas, but trying to still keep some of the port activities, which is a big challenge, which is an environmental challenge in terms of noise, in terms of exhaust and emissions and all that. But in that sense, this will be a very interesting experiment. Also, keeping fantastic buildings from the turn of century of our great turn of century architect. Of course, the identity of the city is strongly rooted with the relationship with the landscape, and definitely, I guess it's something to be continue to work with. If you look at this image, you don't see any much public buildings. It's the northwestern edge of the inner city. You see buildings of a similar scale. You see buildings of similar materials. You see city blocks covered with metal sheet roofs, mostly black, at times red. They all have a continuity, and they are built with a kind of consensus. Some are from the 1970s, others are from the 1880s, and many are from the 1920s. And still they represent and they coexist in a similar kind of scale and relationship. I think that is something great about the body of a city, which is capable of this kind of cohesion and which is based on certain main qualities which are being perpetuated and new building capable of taking on new buildings. But my role is a bit to be more critical than Carolina, so I have to mention some things. We are not perfect. You don't get that idea. Please don't get me right. We are not perfect. So I will show some bad stuff. And this is one of the large projects which unfortunately was built. Normally there are competitions preceding these urban design projects, and here we have a very high and very narrow city blocks with unequal planning qualities. Top floors with great flats, bottom floors with very bad lit flats. We have a lot of public roads which cost a lot for the community to work with. We have problems. And we have other problems, you know, other kind of problems. And this I called Batman Straitjacket. It's a project I've been fighting for years without success. And I would have liked Batman to help me, because, but can I go back? Yeah. So it's a Stockholm University which has this awful kind of formalistic form and very deep buildings and impossible to extend, and I guess the whole flexibility of a university building is missing and has been exchanged for some kind of outer form which is pretty absurd. So there are several projects which I'm quite critical to. This is Slussen. You have one of this amazing, there has been 20 years of competitions on this site, and all the big names and all the unknown names have been submitting proposals, and finally the project selected is quite mediocre in my opinion. If you look at these kind of the strange volume which are in the line of the Great Rift, and will somehow, the consequence of these buildings is that the whole base of the rift will be built. All this, you can understand that a lot of discussions, a lot could be said about this, but I limit it to that. I just propose another star architect who is doing stuff. You can see this is 1920 facades. Why are they so flat? Because we have the horizontal sun in our country. The whole Swedish classicism builds on these very delicate decorations, because of any decoration will cast a shadow over the whole in the mornings, in the long mornings, in the long evenings. So this is a sort of unsustainable kind of pile of shoeboxes designed by Rotterdam architects somehow, and they will all be as amazed when these winter storms come and when all these terraces are filled with ice and snow. So I think, and then we can't refrain from Herzogenaurach either. So although we have a lot of space and to build on, the skyscraper is still sort of is on the architectural scene. I think it's not the most sociable building type. And the last thing, we are, Vienna has one of those, right? Korb Himmelblau. We will have many of those. And I kind of question the reason for adding 3 floors onto the Stockholm roofscape as a principle. So that's some negative things, but I would like to go back to the great story about the early welfare state, and where the infrastructural systems were developed in such a foresighted way, and where aspects which you perhaps not always talk about were so diligently conceived. And Carolina has mentioned the new tube stations, but at the moment there are 100. There's a new, they are most radiating from the city center, but there are also cross lines being created by tramways. And bus systems are running here on biofuel. I'm throwing away 3 bags of organic waste every week, which the buses of Stockholm are running. Not more than those 3 bags, but and I think there are interesting infrastructural systems which are conceived in connections. Here you see the whole Scandinavian countries and the Baltic countries connected with each other. And if you would zoom in onto the Swedish system, it would be a network rather than lines. So if the line is broken somewhere, electricity comes the other way around. So it's highly sustainable, highly thought through. This is just a system of the hot water. In Stockholm, hot water is like cold water. They come together. And we have particularly all buildings in Stockholm are connected with hot water supply. And this is an amazing sketch. You see a housing estate here on the top, done in the late 60s. And this amazing Swiss cheese, a whole hill, which contains this water treatment plant, created in 1941 for 500,000 inhabitants, now continuously extended. And I think that's so interesting that you have a system which once conceived is continuously reworked, and it's being reworked at this moment of time, expanded and extended. So I think this is a great product, and when you look from it outside, it's just a hill in town. So a lot have been said today about the social sustainability, which I think is our main task, to try to create a more sustainable urban life for everyone. And last year, 81,000 immigrants came to Sweden. This year, it will be more than the double. So with that immigration, all the systems are being strained, the housing, all the facilities. So there are big tasks ahead for us. So, and also EU immigrants, how to handle these problems, how to be responsible, all that is big challenges Stockholm has in the future. And here I will end. Thank you for listening.